you're on the Hillbilly Voodoo channel. Today on Hillbilly Voodoo, we're going to start on the build of a mini bike. Well, as you can see, it's not going to be quite a mini bike. It's going to be a monster mini bike. Stick around, see what type of Hillbilly Voodoo we're going to do to create this contraption. Now, when I was younger, I had a mini bike, but apparently it's okay to sell your kids stuff when you need money for alcohol and cigarettes. So I figured now that I'm an old dude, I'm going to build myself a mini bike that's kind of my style. Going to be big tires like everything else I build, and a small engine because I really don't want to go all that fast. And it's got to be built out of the junk, the ground obtainium that I have in the yard here. So I think the first thing we're going to do is round up some materials for a frame. We have 2 tires here that we're going to use. I believe that they are approximately 32 inches tall. I don't know, I have to remeasure them. And why are we using such big tires? Well, because big is cool, and cool is well, it's cool. So anyways, I have 4 of these tires. These are the 2 that are the best. We're going to use these 2. Now let's go wander around the piles of ground obtainium and see what we can dig up to build a frame out of. Now we're going to go out and check out our piles of ground obtainium, this stuff that I have laying on the ground out here, and see what we can dig up for some frame materials. Now I got all kinds of pieces of pipe all over the place. Some there, there's a bunch over in that pile there. But I'm thinking that I'm going to try to make this build out of stuff that you could probably find laying on the ground in a free pile in front of your neighbor's house. Now recently I picked up a bunch of pieces of an old trampoline that were laying in a pile on the side of the ground. Some tube right there. I think maybe we'll use that. It's got bends in it and holes in it, but yeah, we ain't going for the Mona Lisa here, guys. We're going for a mini bike, which I'm going to end up crashing and smashing and all that other stuff. Now you're probably saying, why am I using huge tires and not little tires like that one? Well, because, like I say, big is cool. So let's take some of this trampoline pipe here, or tubing or whatever. See, we got all kinds of pieces of pipe laying around here. Let's take this stuff into the shop, start doing some measurements, and see what we can come up with for a frame. I don't know if I have enough of this stuff, but we can always dig around and find other things. Now, I guess the big question is, are we going to put suspension on this bike? I don't know. We got all kinds of motorcycle front ends laying around in these piles, so maybe we'll put some front forks on it, but I don't really know if it needs rear suspension. I don't know. Let's take this pipe in the shop and we'll kind of decide as we go, I guess. Now I got some of my trampoline pipe here, and I got our 2 tires. We're going to decide what we're going to do with this trampoline pipe. As you see, it's got a bit of a curve to it, bend. So we'll use that natural bend. Now this stuff isn't super thick, so we might have to do some other reinforcing and such, but like I said, we're going to try to build this with stuff you could find just laying around your neighborhood maybe. I'm going to try to not use any real specialty tools like my lathe and such. I might have to use some of it, but we're going to kind of go with just the grinder and the welder type idea, the drill and the hand tools. So what I'm thinking here, I want to keep the center of gravity fairly low because I'm an old dude and I don't want to fall over. So I'm thinking that if we cut the square parts off, actually, you know what? No, we're going to leave the square part on the end here so that we can weld something square there for our wheel axle. But you can see, I don't know if I'm in the way or not, but that kind of looks like a good length. Now maybe we better measure our motor. Nah, hell, we're gonna wing it here. That looks like motor size there. Maybe we'll go a little bit wider here, just to be safe. Yeah, that looks like motor size. So we go like that, kind of with the center of that tire. Let's make some marks on this pipe here. That kind of looks like the center of the tire. So we'll make a mark here. And we'll make a mark here. So we'll cut it off here. That'll be the front of our frame. This will be, well, we'll put a brace across here to hold the two frame rails apart. Yeah, that looks like a good idea. Now let's measure the distance that we're going to need. Put an axle through here with a sprocket. And I don't know what we're going to do for brakes yet, but we're going to need enough room there for the sprocket and clearance for the tire. Yeah, let's measure that up. So let's measure up how wide we're going to need this frame to clear the tire. Now, I would say that should give us, yeah, that right there should give us enough room. So if we have 15 inches in between our two rails, that should be plenty. Start cutting up some of this pipe and sticking it together and see what we can create out of what we got here. So what I think I'm going to do here is take this one that we've marked with our chalk and our lengths, and I'm going to transcribe that onto one that doesn't have a dent right in maybe a crucial spot here. So yeah, that one's a little bit better. Remember, we're working with what we got to make what we want, so can't always have perfect. So let's take that. And we're going to transfer that onto another one without any dents in it. Okay, so we have our measurements here. Now we're going to cut this off here. We will put a brace across here, that's 15 inches, and a brace across here, that's 15 inches. That'll give us the lower part of our frame, and then we can build off of there. Now this is galvanized. We're going to grind the galvanizing off of this to weld to it. Galvanizing is not a very pleasant thing to weld to, and you get a hell of a hangover from it if you do. So we'll clean all that up. Now, because this pipe is curved, we're going to see if we can get two 15-inch chunks out of that. And if not, then we'll go out and grab another piece of that stuff and get two 15-inch chunks. Now, we're going to put the curve down, I think, just to make, or should we put the curve up? Up, down. I don't know. Let's chop this stuff off first, and then we'll decide which way we're going to put the curve once we get it all. Yeah, we'll put the curve like that, because when we lay it on here on the table, it'll be easier to weld straight. Yeah, that makes sense in my head. As you can see, I have notched our pieces here with the grinder. And we got our two that are the same length. Now let's build our bottom frame here. Actually, no. Let's clean up these pieces of pipe so that we're not welding any galvanizing. We got all our tubes welded together there now in our lower frame type configuration. Got it set it up there between my wheels to decide whether I'm going to put front suspension on this thing, which I think I'm going to do because I got all kinds of motorcycle forks laying around out there. Now I know somebody out there is whining and complaining, oh, I thought you were going to make this out of stuff you could find on the side of the road. Yeah, well, guess what? Before the advent of Marketplace, where everybody thinks that their crap is worth $1 million, if you ask people for stuff, they would probably give it to you because it's junk. I've had a lot of motorcycles dropped off on the side of the road in front of my house because I put a sign out there that says motorcycle parts wanted. So let's go dig around out in the piles of ground obtainium and see if we can find some of those motorcycle parts. Well, let's see what we can find out here. Now, there's a whole bunch of parts there. Those are bicycle parts. Well, that's a motorcycle part. Got a bunch of bicycle forks underneath there. I don't think there's too many motorcycle parts in that pile. There's a complete motorcycle right there, but we don't want to take that apart because we got a plan for that for another project. No motorcycle parts in here that I know of. There is a whole bunch of motorcycle parts over in this pile. Yeah, I don't know whether people have just gotten more greedy the last few years or figured they're going to make $1 million off their junk or what the hell the deal is, but yeah. Okay, well, we have a front end right there. You see that red rim? That is off of Hayabusa, I believe. And that's all aluminum. There's a whole front end there. So we don't want to use that because it's aluminum and we can't weld aluminum. And we have, oh, there's some forks there, right there. Can you see them? Right there. But I don't think that there's a headset that goes with those. I think it's just the forks. There's a wheel there with a brake caliper and a rotor on it. Maybe we can use that for our brakes. And what else we got in here? Well, there's another wheel. I think that's off a Hayabusa too, or at least a Gixxer of some sort. You know, hey, in there, I don't know if you can see, there's a speedometer, and that is connected to the handlebars and the headset of another motorcycle. And that looks to me like it is steel, metal. Can you see it? I don't know. Yeah, you could probably see it. So let's fish that out of there. See if we can use those forks. If there is forks. Yeah, there's forks on there. There's the top of the tubes. So let's fish that stuff out of there and see if we can use that for front suspension on our mini bike. Our mini monster bike, or our monster mini bike, or our, yeah, shut up now. Let's get it out of What, you guys didn't think I was going to dig that crap out by hand, did you? That would suck. No, use the hydraulic helper. Okay, I'm gonna cut this off right at the headset so we can use the headset bearings and tube and all that, but we're gonna have to spread it out somehow, modify the triple clamp so that it can get over our big tires. I don't know if I'll show you guys stripping all this stuff down, but I'll bring you back when we have the headset tube all apart and our forks, pretty much all this crap stripped off of here and ready to try to put on our mini bike. I got that front end all chopped down there, so now all we have is the headset tube and the triple clamp and forks. And I found something to stick it or prop it up on for the height. That cinder block there is almost directly center of that wheel, so that'll give us something to just kind of prop it up on there and tell us where our fork height and everything is going to need to be. And I got the back half of our frame more or less propped up here so that it's center of that wheel. Now I'm going to take another piece of trampoline pipe and notch it so that it fits onto our headset tube. Now I'm going to have to kind of eyeball how many degrees we're going to put that headset tube at, because I don't want it what it was on the street bike front end, and I don't want it straight up and down. I kind of want it somewhere in between, so I think it'll probably be around maybe 10 degrees. I want this bike to turn fairly quickly, so the straighter up and down your forks are, the less rake and trail you have. It'll steer quickly, and it's not going to be going fast, so you shouldn't be too worried about speed wobble, but especially with those size of tires. So let's see if we can mark this out here with a pen at sort of kind of the angle we need, and at least get it tacked in there and see if it's going to work. Okay, can you guys kind of sort of see what I'm doing here? I don't know if it's a good angle or not, but it's the only angle I got. So I'm going to try to rock that back to what I figure is a good headset angle. Now, I have built a lot of motorcycle frames in the past, so I can kind of eyeball this. If you are just kind of sort of starting out on building something like this, a good frame of reference are bicycle frames. Usually your BMX frames have a headset angle that will allow you to turn fairly fast, fairly rapidly. Cruiser bikes usually have a slightly more rock back frame. So we're going to eyeball that about there. Kind of looks good. Should give us clearance for our tire and all that stuff, and mark it. Now, I don't know if I'm going to keep this single front fork tube here, or if I'm going to go to a wishbone style fork tube, but we're going to get this all tacked into place, and that'll give us an idea of our frame geometry anyways. Remember, we're working with materials that we have. If we were buying tubing and all that other stuff, this would be a completely different idea, because we could bend the tubing to where we want it and all that other stuff, but we're using, like I say, what we got. So use what you got to make what you want. I'm going to cut that off there and notch it out a little bit with the grinder so that it fits the profile of that. And we'll stick it in there and see what happens with it. I got our headset and our down tube on there now. It should be in a good angle that it clears the tire, gives us the proper rake and trail. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to call this thing a mini bike anymore, because this is friggin' huge. This is like real motorcycle size, but we're just putting a tiny engine in it, and I don't know. What do you guys think we should call it? The mini monster bike? The monster mini bike? trampoline machine. I don't know. So now I think I'm going to cut some plates for in here that are slotted so that our axle can slot back and forth, and we can use that as a chain adjustment. And then we can also use that plate to tie in our top frame rail, however that's going to go. We got a couple more of this trampoline pipe left, I believe. And then I think we have some straight pieces out of that trampoline that were the little net holder upper things for around the outside. I'm pretty sure I got a piece of that around still. And well, let's cut some plates here. I'm going to do some cardboard aided design for the shape that I want. And then we'll trace them out on a piece of metal and cut it out. So let's see what we're going to need here for a plate for in here. Now, you're going to need a slot or a hole in it. So we'll go with a hole. Now that will be the size of our bolt that goes through the axle. And that will be slotted backwards like that. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but yeah, slotted backwards like that. And we can build some type of adjuster back here. So yeah, that kind of looks like it might work. And we can slot this piece here and kind of drop it down inside. So yeah, let's cut that out. It's just really a square, I guess. Don't really need to cut it out. And I'm going to run outside and find a piece of metal and trace that out on that. Well, I found myself a piece of metal here, and let's see if we can put two of these on this piece. Yeah, there's plenty of room there, so let's make it maybe a little bit bigger. How wide is that metal? About 7 inches. So let's just cut it in half. And we're going to make it about that long. Maybe we'll grab a square and square this all up here and just make 2 square plates and be done with it. We got our 2 plates cut out here now and tacked together. Had to do a little bit of modifying to our design here because I didn't notice that one of the pieces had this really rotted out chunk on it, so we just kind of cut that out of there, which should be fine. Now this is the size of bearing that I'm going to be using in the back axle. So if I put that kind of right here, yeah, like that. Trace out the hole in the inside. Trace out the hole. Ooh, yeah, we're just moving all over the place here. So give me an idea where the hole is going to be, and then we can cut our slot that way. First, I'm going to drill that hole to that size. That hole to that size. And then we'll cut the slot from there out that way. You guys are going to have to kind of excuse the voice. I'm starting to lose it here for some reason, but anyways, we'll keep on building here, and hopefully I can still talk and tell you what I'm doing at the same time. Got our brackets all cut here, split and separated. The slot caught in here now. Cut in here. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Now, I've notched these tubes in the back, and these should slide, yeah, like that. Put them in there like that. I'm gonna weld them along here. And then we can take our next bar and come off the top here somewhere to brace all this in. Should be plenty strong enough. These are pretty thick brackets, so yeah, somewhere like that. So I'll weld those in there, and then we'll decide what we're gonna do for our top kind of hoopy thing. As you can see, we got our back plates all put in there now, and we've put the top, I don't know what you call that, top wishbone, top hoop, and the top tube on there now. Yeah. So, is it looking like a frame yet? Kind of looks like a frame to me. If you look at it from this angle, you can definitely tell what type of motorcycle I'm into. Looks more like a chopper than a mini bike, but hey, use what you got to make what you want. Now, I think I need to remind people that are just finding the Hillbilly Voodoo channel, that's what we're about. Use what you got to make what you want. So far, we've used a trampoline to build a motorcycle. Yeah, and that's it. Use a grinder, a flap wheel, and some old motorcycle forks. So if you're into that kind of thing, you should probably subscribe to the Hillbilly Voodoo channel. And if you're not into that kind of thing, well, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you. But anyways, I think today we're going to leave this video here with our frame more or less to a point where we can start figuring out what we're going to do for a motor. So until next time, guys, use what you got to make what you want, and I'll see you later.